We're going to be looking in this video at sorting specifically for 3 different values. And some of the other sorts that we've done, we've just had some different priorities. Here, what we want to do is just focus on the values and just get as many different hues as we can inside those values. So we just want to make like a pile of darks, a pile of middles, and a pile of lights. And I'm going to focus on a couple different things to start with. So let's make a bunch of darks. Okay, so we have this nice big pile here. And anything in this pile, let's see, let's say these are our middles. Let's see, what happened to my middle pile? So anything that we have here is darker than anything we have here, right? So there's a nice distinct step from dark to, say, middle to light. And these two here are lighter than anything that's going to be in here. But let's focus on dark for now. So if we just take the darks that we have and then just say, okay, we're getting rid of anything that's way lighter than everything else. And most of these colors are kind of touching right now, but let's just go through and get rid of the lighter colors. That's really light. Remember, when you're checking value, the colors always have to touch. It's very important. So that got rid of most of my lights. And now I'm looking for colors that are going to be darker colors. It looks like there isn't anything that's really standing out as being darker, but I can still pull those lights. So we're just trying to tighten it up. All right, so let's put them into like a little hierarchy for you guys. Okay, so you can see that's a pretty rich, deep strip of color, and we can tighten it up even more. There's probably some more greens, but that's pretty good. Now, if you kind of notice, it's all pretty tight. One of the things I always forget when I'm doing these videos is that the values that you see on the screen are a little bit different than the ones I see. And I'm going to be going back and forth between those things. But right now on the screen, these all look pretty tight. So we'll see what the playback looks like later. But now remember, if you have 2 colors that you're trying to decide whether or not they're the same value, all you do is stare at that little spot there at the corner, and then count to 7 or 8 with me, and just stare at it and don't do anything else. Just stare at it. When I pull the paper away, stare into that spot, and you'll see the after image of the 2 colors. And then if there's a value difference between them, then you know that there's a value difference between them in real life too. So I'm going to pull them apart in 3, 2, 1. There's a green on this side and a pink on this side. It looks like the pink is a little bit lighter, so that's telling us that the green's darker. I don't entirely think that that's true. I think they're pretty much the same. But anyway, in the playback, we'll see. But this is a nice, strong group of darks. So we're going to put that to the side. And the harder part is going to be the middle values. And I had some good ones picked out, and now I seem to have lost them. So bear with me. I'm going to put that middle group back together. little bit light. That's an awesome green. Nice looking blue. Maybe a little bit dark, but we can put it in for now. All right, so the middle value is going to be the more difficult of the three. You're going to find that dark is pretty easy and light's pretty easy, but this one's going to be tricky. So this is a good amount of color. Maybe we'll add a couple other ones as we go, but a little dark. Yeah, it looks like that goes in a couple places. But anyway, so now we can take these colors and we can start and say, okay, so what's the lightest color in the group? Since most of them are touching, we can tell. Get rid of the lightest one, get rid of the darkest one, and then start making some comparisons. It looks like this blue is a little darker, this one's a little lighter. That one goes out. This green looks a little dark. Okay, so now we've got a group. These two look good together. I'd be interested to see the after image on that one. In real life, the blue looks darker to me slightly, but on the camera, the purple looks a little dark. So that means we can probably get away with that. But this is pretty good, and again, you can do the after image test. If you have two colors of the same hue, and you notice that it's easy to tell a value difference there, just decide which one you think is off. We can get rid of that one. So that's a pretty tight group of middles. Put those over there, and now we can just grab a handful of colors that we can maybe decide are light, and then just start chucking the darker ones. The lights are going to have a lot of yellows because that's where yellow lives. You might end up with some lighter pinks, some lighter reds. Let's see, those are all too dark, too dark, too dark. As soon as your yellow starts to go towards orange, if it stays bright, it's usually a little bit darker, so we're losing that one. There aren't too many good blues. At the value that I'm sort of leaning towards here, there aren't a lot of good blues, but we can try and leave one or two. Let's see, that's too dark, that's too dark. If you're working with color aid paper, there do seem to be some limits on how light the cooler colors get, but if you go to the hardware store and you're looking at the paint samples, you might be able to find some cooler colors, some blues, and especially ones that lean towards purple that are going to be lighter that will match up with these. Right now I'm having no luck. So my light zone is going to be mostly warm colors just because that's what I have in front of me. And see that orange one? It's darker than all the rest. So these ones are starting to tighten up, and we got a purple one in there, which is nice. It's not too much darker, but this one reads a little bit lighter, so I'm going to get rid of it. And then start comparing things to the purple. It does look a little bit light. But then, if you're putting these together into a composition and they all look great, but every time this color touches this one looks dark, well, just don't let them touch. And then you'll have an advantage on that other side. Ooh, look at that yellow. It's hiding underneath. Looks good. This one, yeah. Now, when we're sorting in a scenario like this, we can still eliminate a whole bunch more of these, but I will leave that to you guys. I just wanted to show you how to get deep into the sort, and you can polish it as you go. What I want to point out before we wrap this up is that when we're talking about value, and the term I use is value zones, the value shape in a composition, that you're using to compose, usually it has more than one color in it, but it'll be a value shape. That's a value zone. And then this is our light zone. This is our middle zone. This is our dark zone. And for our purposes, when we're doing color like this with paper, we can afford to be really, really picky and tighten it way up so that all the colors in here are the same value, all the colors in here are the same value, and all the colors here are the same value. When you're looking for these types of effects in artwork that you like, or if you're trying to be practical, like you're trying to set up the colors that you're going to need to like render an object, a value zone is not going to be a single value. It's going to be a very, very tight range. And that's an important distinction between being theoretical like we are here and being practical like we're going to be everywhere else. Because ultimately we want to be able to take what we're learning from these sorts and be able to visualize and do all the other things that we want to be able to do. We also want to be able to turn this into something practical. So I think that's a good note to end this video on. And we'll move on to another type of sort in the next video.